This is the AB4WS radio show. Every week, bringing you the exciting amateur radio news and information happening in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana areas.
The AB4WS radio show can be found on the Apple Podcast app or your favorite podcast application. And now also available on the AB4WS radio show YouTube channel. The Ham Shack Hotline team has announced that the Ham Shack Hotline project will sunset on August 29, 2025. What began in 2018 as a simple idea of K1WIZ quickly grew into something that none of the originators had ever imagined, an expansive global communications network built by and for ham radio operators. The Ham Shack Hotline evolved into a robust voice-over IP system supported by multiple servers around the world with over 7,000 interconnections. This was all made possible by the many donors and the Ham Shack Hotline volunteer team. However, as this network grew, the demands of supporting the network of this scale quickly became challenging with the other responsibilities of family, careers, and life outside the shack. After much consideration, the board of directors have unanimously voted to sunset the project on August 29, 2025, giving time for users to transition over to other services. While disappointed with this news, we certainly thank the Ham Shack Hotline team for their years of dedicated service and fine voice-over IP system that we've all used. Happy 91st birthday to K8SGY Theodore Chin Jr., who celebrated his birthday and the 4th of July. The terminally ill Korean War veteran was interviewed on WCPO TV. Happy birthday! Many of the digital MCON guys are excited about the new upgrades to both VARA AC and JSA Call. VARA AC has upgraded to version 12 with a bidirectional email gateway, easy VARA AC cluster settings, email alerts, and faster calling frequency clearance. Shorter QSY invites. Verbose GPS and other features are added. JSA Call features in the new version, one app for all platforms, selectable GPS options, group settings, and a UI page for settings. A ton of changes listed in the changelog. Lots of Parks on the Air activity recently, including Mark, AI4BJ, who was on a trip in Canada and worked POTA from an island. Yes, he activated an island via a canoe at Park CA 5543, the Morris Island Conservation Area, where Mark worked 16 phone contacts. Great job, Mark. Mark's really taking this retirement thing seriously. We lost a very active Parks on the Air ham who has become a silent key. Trip Owens, N4NTO, who has 663 activations from 84 parks, has become a silent key when he had an accident at a POTA activation where it is believed that when putting up his antenna, it came in contact with power lines and he was electrocuted as a result. All of us need to take warning and try to increase our safety concerns when activating parks. We all get excited about POTA and erecting our antennas, and we need to keep this fresh in our minds to use the utmost caution and keep safety first. Our thoughts and prayers to Tripp's family and friends. Linda Amos, KA4TET, has become a silent key. She was a member of the Bullet Amateur Radio Society until 1990 when she relocated in Jacksonville, Florida. Jim Vaughn, K4TXJ, has become a silent key. The retired U.S. Navy radioman chief was a Big DX or an ARRL member for over 60 years and an ARRL card checker and active on several of the Kentucky traffic nets. This big CW operator was a member of ARTS, BARS, Derby City DX Association, Kentucky DX Association, and Western Kentucky DX Association. On September 9, 2023, Jim was presented the Amateur of the Year for 2023 award at the Greater Louisville Ham Fest. Jim's signals will be greatly missed. Our thoughts and prayers to his family and friends. The 54th Annual Greater Louisville Ham Fest will be held on September 6th at the Parquet Springs Conference Center. With Louisville Ham Fest just over a couple months away, I thought it might be interesting to look at the history of Ham Fest in Louisville, Kentucky. It all began in 1959 with a July planning meeting of the Greater Louisville Ham Fest and the first successful meeting of Kentuckiana ham radio operators at Parkway Field. In 1960, the second annual Greater Louisville Ham Fest was held at Monogram Hall at General Electric Appliance Park on Sunday, July 31st. It was the Louisville Hamfest picnic auction on Sunday, August 6, in 1961 at Cherokee Park. No information has been found about the Hamfest in Louisville from 1962 to 1965. But then on October 15, 1966, the Louisville Ham Convention came with technical forums, exhibits, a banquet, and a giant indoor trade-a-rama and ladies program. The Louisville Ham Convention was at the Executive Inn Motor Hotel on September 8th and 9th in 1967 and August 30th and 31st in 1968. It was sponsored by the ARRL Kentucky State Convention in 1967 and was sponsored by the Amateur Radio Transmitting Society in 1968. In 1969, the ARRL Great Lakes Division Convention was held in Louisville. No specific data could be found for Hamfest in 1970 or 1971, but there was a Hamfest in 1971. The Greater Louisville Hamfest was held on August 27, 1972 in Pine Grove, Otter Creek Park. Then in 1973, the third annual Greater Louisville Hamfest was held on August 26 at the Oldham County Fairgrounds in LaGrange, Kentucky. In 1960, the second annual Greater Louisville Hamfest was held according to the Paducah Sun, but in 1973, the third annual Greater Louisville Hamfest was held according to 73 Magazine. Yeah, those numbers don't jive, but we as hams are terrible records keepers for those historians. In 1974, the Greater Louisville Hamfest was held again at the Oldham County Fairgrounds, but moved to the Kentucky National Guard Armory on Crittenden Drive in 1975 and 76, and presented by the Kentuckiana Radio Club Incorporated. On Sunday, September 25th, 1977, the seventh annual Greater Louisville Hamfest was moved to the Kentucky Fair and Exposition Center, the home of the Greater Louisville Hamfest for 11 years through 1988. During that time, Greater Louisville Hamfest sponsored the ARRL Kentucky State Convention in 1979, an ARRL Great Lakes Division Convention in 1981, and a National ARRL Convention in 1985. The Commonwealth Convention Center became the venue for the Greater Louisville Hamfest from 1989 until 1994. Greater Louisville Hamfest hosted the ARRL State Convention in 1991, 1993, and 1994, and a Division Convention in 1992. For just 1 year, in 1992, the Greater Louisville Hamfest combined with the Kentucky-Indiana PC Users Group for the Greater Louisville Hamfest and Computer Show, having demonstrations from Microsoft and WordPerfect. The now titled Greater Louisville Hamfest Computer Show moved back to the Kentucky Fair and Exposition Center in 1995 through 1998, hosting an ARRL State Convention in 1996. The Bullitt County Fairgrounds was the location of the Greater Louisville Hamfest from 1999 through 2003, hosting the State Convention in 2000 and 2001. Saturday, September 11, 2004, the Greater Louisville Hamfest Computer Show and ARRL State Convention was moving to the Parquet Springs Conference Center with a convention banquet on Friday night. In 2005, it was again hosted the State Convention. With less computer equipment at the show and more ham gear, either in 2005 or 2006, the Computer Show part of the title was dropped and the year was added to the Greater Louisville Hamfest title. For 2008, the domain LouisvilleHamfest.com was added and created a graphic for each year's Hamfest. It was a number confusion when in 2010, the Greater Louisville Hamfest celebrated their 50 years of Hamfest. Well, maybe not. Remember that number thing back in 1973 and the third annual Hamfest being then, making it the first in 1971? So it means it should have been like the 39th annual show. Again, we hams are terrible records keepers and historians. And then there was the dreaded Louisville Sunrise Hamfest in 2011, a show of its own. They were booking Parquet Springs Center 2 years in advance, but that wasn't enough. In 2011, a wedding reception was booked on the afternoon of the Hamfest, and the time was moved to 6:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. It was not a good Hamfest. The Louisville Hamfest bounced back in 2012 and in 2013, hosting the state convention. With regular Hamfests in 2014, 2015, and 2016, they again hosted the ARRL Kentucky State Convention with the biggest and most exciting Hamfest in over a decade. They had 3 large forum rooms, 7 major prizes, and even the Royal Order of Wolfong. In 2017 was a great show, and in 2018 they again hosted the state convention. 2019 went well, but then again there was 2020. That year was made to make the 30-year celebration. But then COVID intervened and the event was postponed until 2020 run for the 60-year celebration. They continued with successful Hamfest from 2022 to 2024, and everyone is looking forward to this year's Greater Louisville Hamfest being one of the biggest and best yet. The Ukiah Amateur Radio Society is looking for volunteers for their 3-day Harvest Home Fair on September 5th through the 7th. This is one of the 2 fundraising events that the Ukiah benefits from, the other just occurring with the Red, White, and Blue Ash event. They'll be giving away a prize to lucky volunteers, so if you can help out, please contact Drew, KEHATL, by emailing him at macdrew1@pm.me. The Brunch Bunch will meet on July 12th at 1 p.m. at Wild Mike's American Eatery, 7587 Bridgetown Road in Miami Heights. July 14th is a new Queen City Triathlon, Duathlon, and Aqua Bike in downtown Cincinnati. And Brian Hoffman, KC8EGV, is looking for amateur radio operators to assist with communications for the event. If you're interested, please email him at hoffgroup@gmail.com. On July 19th, listen out for W8H, special event station on 40, 20, 17, and 10-meter phone for the bicentennial of Hinckley, Ohio, sponsored by the North Coast Amateur Radio Club, n8nc.org. For more information, email ncarc@n8nc.org. On July 19th, the Western Reserve Amateur Radio Club will be holding an amateur radio roundup at the Harry Meschel picnic area at Lake Milton State Park, 590 Milton Avenue in Lake Milton, Ohio, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. with a Club POTA outing. August 9th is the Kentucky Parks on the Air event created to promote awareness of ham radio in the beautiful Kentucky State Parks and National Park System, promoting camaraderie in the ranks of Kentucky amateur radio operators, sponsored by the Murray State University Amateur Radio Club. Competing stations will operate from as many of the 50 Kentucky State Park and 10 national sites as possible, making contact from the park from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Updated rules and information is on the k4smu.com/KYPOTA website.
Repeater news.
Are you looking for the most up-to-date list of repeaters in the greater Cincinnati area? Well, I have an Excel spreadsheet where I've listed repeaters that are active in the area, separated by tabs for each band or mode, so you can easily look for just DMR repeaters or 2-meter analog repeaters and so on. The list includes 2 meters, 220, 440, 6 meters, D-Star, DMR, C4FM, P25, and some other classifications. Every time I update the file, I include the date and the file name so that you know you have the latest update. To download the file, go to the AB4WS Radio Show Facebook page and go to the file section and download the file. If you're not on Facebook, email me at ab4ws.radio@gmail.com and I can email you the latest file. If you see any errors, problems, additions, or corrections, email that information to ab4ws.radio@gmail.com.
Hamfest.
July 19th is the Williams County Amateur Radio Association Hamfest at the Williams County Fairgrounds, 619 East Main Street in Montpelier, Ohio. July 19th is Norfest at the Lorain Community College Spitzer Conference Center, 1005 North Abbey Road in Elyria, Ohio. July 20th is the Van Wert Hamfest at the Van Wert County Fairground, 1055 South Washington Street in Van Wert, Ohio. August 2nd is the Columbus Hamfest at the Elyden Shrine Center, 1801 Gateway Circle in Grove City, Ohio. For more information, go to columbushamfest.com. August 9th is the Cincinnati Hamfest, sponsored by the Milford Amateur Radio Club at the Claremont County Fairgrounds in Owensville, Ohio. This year, they will have overnight parking for campers and RVs with electric and water hookups. Go to cincinnatihamfest.org for more information. On August 9th is the Letcher County Amateur Radio Club Hamfest at the Mountain Shrine Club, 95 Maryland Drive in Whitesburg, Kentucky, from 8 a.m. to noon. They're already amassing a nice stash of door prizes from some great name brand sponsors. For more information, contact Roland Brown, AF4Y at AF4Y@REBROWN.org. August 16th is the Portsmouth Radio Club 2025 Hamfest at the New Boston Village Community Center, 3980 Rhodes Avenue in New Boston, Ohio. On August 17th is the Warren Hamfest at the Trumbull County Fairgrounds, Commercial Building, 899 Everett Cortland Hall Road, Cortland, Ohio. For more information, go to w8vtd.com/hamfest. August 30th is the Athens Trunk Fest at the Athens Masonic Lodge, 12 West Carpenter Street in Athens, Ohio. On Saturday, September 6th is the Greater Louisville Hamfest 2025 at the Parquet Springs Conference Center, 395 Parquet Springs Drive in Shepherdsville, Kentucky. This year will be free admission for anyone under 16 years of age. Also, scouts and scout leaders in uniform can get free admission as well. Exciting forums on POTA, digital networking, and the ARRL. Major prizes include a Yaesu FT891 and an MFJ 1536 tri-band pulsar antenna, as well as many others. QLF contest is back back again this year, and they'll be awarding the Kentucky Amateur of the Year Award. For more information or to purchase your ticket, go to LouisvilleHamFest.com. September 7th is the Findlay, Ohio Hamfest at the Hancock County Fairgrounds, 1017 East Sandusky Street in Findlay, Ohio. On September 13th, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. is Richmond, Kentucky Hamfest at the Madison County Fairgrounds, 3237 Old Irwin Road in Richmond, Kentucky. October 4th is the DX Workshop Operating Specialty Convention from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time in the Warren County Public Library, Bob Kirby Branch, 175 Iron Skillet Court in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Talk in on the 444.300 repeater with a PL tone of 179.9. For more information, visit wkdxa.org/events.
Are you looking to upgrade your license? Do you have someone else that's interested in the hobby? Here are some upcoming exam opportunities.
The Milford Amateur Radio Club holds amateur radio testing on the third Thursday of each month at 6 p.m. at the Miami Township Civic Center, 6101 Meyer Drive in Milford, Ohio. Please pre-register at milfordhamradio.org. The Dayton Amateur Radio Association has exams frequently. For their exam schedule, email exams.w8bi@gmail.com. On July 12th at 10 a.m., there'll be an amateur radio testing session at the Clark County EOC, 200 Maryland Avenue in Winchester, Kentucky. Please pre-register at hamstudy.org/session/AC4YD. For more information, contact Darrell Epperson, AC4YD, at AC4YD@ARRL.net or call 859-771-1834. On July 12th at 10 a.m., the Crooked River Amateur Radio Club will be holding an amateur radio exam session at the Oak Hills Presbyterian Church, 2406 Ardwell Avenue in Akron, Ohio. You must pre-register by calling 330-786-8088. On July 12th, the Westchester Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio testing session at 10 a.m. at the Voice of America Museum, 8070 Tylersville Road in Westchester, Ohio. For more information and to register, go to hamstudy.org/session/WC8VOA. On July 13th, the Cuyahoga Falls Amateur Radio Club will host an amateur radio exam session at 9:15 a.m. at the Cuyahoga Falls Public Library, 2025 2nd Street in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. For more information, email education@cfarc.org. On July 13th, the Cuyahoga Amateur Radio Society is hosting an amateur radio testing session at 9:15 a.m. at the Old Elmwood Recreation Center, 6200 Wisniewski Parkway in Independence, Ohio. On July 19th, the Crooked River Amateur Radio Association is hosting an amateur radio exam session at 10 a.m. at the Oak Hill Presbyterian Church, 2406 Adwell Avenue in Akron, Ohio. Pre-register at 330-786-8088. On July 21st at 5:30 p.m., the Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at the Bethesda Community Church, 989 East Mount Zion Road in Independence, Kentucky. You must register by going to hamstudy.org/session/NKY-VE. On July 24th at 6 p.m., the K4TG VE team will have an amateur radio testing session at the Anderson County Extension Building. Use the rear entrance in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. On July 26th at 10 a.m., the Wilderness Road Amateur Radio Club will host an amateur radio testing session at the American Legion, Post 46 in Danville, Kentucky. On August 9th at 10 a.m., the Bluegrass Amateur Radio Society will hold an amateur radio testing session at the Red Cross Building in Lexington, Kentucky. On August 14th, the DeForest Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at 6 p.m. at the Adams County Emergency Management Office, 31 Logan's Lane in West Union, Ohio. Please pre-register by emailing K8WEH@ARRL.net or check in on the K8GE.net website. On October the 9th, the DeForest Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at 6 p.m. at the Adams County Emergency Management Office, 31 Logan's Lane in West Union, Ohio. Please pre-register by emailing K8WEH@ARRL.net or on the K8GE.net website. On October 11th at 10 a.m., the Scott County Amateur Radio Club will host an amateur radio testing session at the Georgetown Police Department, Georgetown, Kentucky. On October 25th at 10 a.m., the Wilderness Road Amateur Radio Club will host an amateur radio exam session at the American Legion, Post 46 in Danville, Kentucky. On October 28th at 6 p.m., the K4TG VE team will host an amateur radio exam session at the Anderson County Extension Building. Use the rear entrance in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. On November the 8th at 10 a.m., the Bluegrass Amateur Radio Society will host an amateur radio exam session at the Red Cross Building in Lexington, Kentucky. On December 11th, the DeForest Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at 6 p.m. at the Adams County Emergency Management Office, 31 Logans Lane in West Union, Ohio. Please pre-register by emailing K8WEH at K8WEH@ARRL.net or on the K8GE.net website. On December 13th, the Scott County Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio testing session at the Georgetown Police Department in Georgetown, Kentucky. Special thanks to this week's content contributors: WB8VNH, KY6MM, AC8MA, KY4GW, WB8YYS, KD8ZLD, K9HIO, N8LAR, K4NKU.
If you have something you think other amateur radio operators in the area would be interested in, send the information or your recorded audio file attached in an email to ab4ws.radio@gmail.com.
Covering your amateur radio news and information in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana tri-state area, this is Jack Prindle, AB4WS in Big Bone, Kentucky.